Hey, folks, will start in about 1 minute. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, folks, it's 8:31, which means it's time for another Coffee Chats with Economic Alliance Snohomish County. I am President and CEO of Economic Alliance Snohomish County, Gary Clark. And before we dive in, as always, I ask everyone to please raise your coffee cups in solidarity. And this is a pumpkin spice latte. It's my first time trying it. So hope you all are having some great items to try. Now let's dive into, as always, housekeeping. I'm a big Chris Farley fan, so I always want to say more there. At any rate, please engage us as we dive into this conversation about untapped talent. We want to make sure that we have the opportunity to hear from you, and please share your organizational name so as we ask these questions, we have an idea of who you're with and where you're coming from. Now, I have the distinct pleasure to invite and welcome quite a few folks here, but our panelists are exclusively our small group here. I think we have a few additional folks that will join us, but first and foremost, I'd like to welcome Michelle Crother, who is here, and she is an employment consultant. Michelle, welcome.
Thank you.
And Michelle, can you tell us who you're with and how long you've been with these folks?
Oh, I am with Washington Vocational Services, and I have been with them for 3 years.
Awesome. Welcome aboard for today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And next we have Orion has a welcome guest with us, and this is Kate Malagan, who is the lead employment consultant. Kate, welcome, and tell us a little bit about your organization and how long you've been with them.
Hi, yes. I have been with Orion in November. It will be 2 years. I have worked in employment services now for almost 8. Orion does not only employment services, but we also do training to prepare people for employment. And we have our main office down in Auburn, manufacturing, where we employ about 150 people. And in Mukilteo, we have a small manufacturing where we employ about 35 people.
Awesome. Welcome aboard. Thank you for joining us today, Kate. And last but not least, we have the amazing, actually our suite mates, is Workforce Snohomish's Ty Reed. And Ty comes to us as the Business Engagement Project Manager. Ty, tell us a little bit about yourself and Workforce Snohomish.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I am the Business Engagement Project Manager with Workforce Snohomish. And what that means is that I do all the business outreach in Snohomish County for workforce development programs and grants that are available to businesses in the county. Additionally, my interest in talking about untapped populations is a personal one as well. I also run a small nonprofit called Recovery Career Services that's dedicated to providing employment support and career coaching for individuals that are in recovery from addiction, homelessness, and past criminal justice involvement. So I'm looking forward to this discussion today. Thank you so much for letting me be here.
All right. Well, folks, to start off, we have some basic questions, and what I will do is we'll go in the opposite order by which we introduced ourselves. So Ty gets the opportunity to start off. But I have some basic questions to ask, and then let's just see what rolls out organically from our audience that we have here. We have about 65 plus folks on this call right now. So I want to thank you all for joining. I'm sure it'll grow as we continue. But my first question to you all is, you've already introduced yourselves. Tell us a little bit more about the work that you actually do. Give us some more insight on the specifics of the work that you do currently. So Ty, you get the first stab at it.
Thanks for the question. I'm going to answer your question, but first I'm going to ask the audience a couple of questions. So I just want you to kind of think about what images come to mind when you hear the following phrases. So when you think about someone who is a drug addict, what image comes to mind? And there's no right or wrong answer, just whatever comes to your mind. When you think about somebody who's homeless, what image kind of comes to your mind? And when you think about a person who may have been previously incarcerated, either in jail or in prison, what is the image that comes to your mind? Now, again, there's no right or wrong answer to this, but what I will tell you is that if the images that came to your mind did not include me, then you don't really have a complete picture, because in less than a handful of years ago, I was all three of those things. I was a homeless meth addict living on the streets of Seattle, in and out of jail over and over and over, and picked up a pretty extensive criminal record. And when I got sober in 2016, despite the fact that I have some pretty good educational history and some really strong work history, it was really difficult for me to find work. And the reason why I do what I do is because of those experiences. Even though I had worked in corporate America for 15 years and have an MBA from the University of Washington, the first job I was able to find was part-time as a janitor. So I started thinking about, in my journey, if it's going to be tough for somebody who's been lucky like me, lucky to get education, lucky to have great work history, if it's really tough for me to find work, what is the experience like for other people who haven't been as fortunate? And so a big part of what I do is really help people who are starting their lives over in many cases figure out what that employment journey is going to be. I help them map out how they're going to get from where they are today to where they want to be a year from now, 3 years from now, and 5 years from now. And it's an honor to be a part of that journey, because frankly, it's a comeback story and everybody loves a comeback story. So I feel really honored to be a part of that. And that's why I'm so passionate about the work.
Thank you, Ty. That is amazing. And we really appreciate you sharing that. It shows the resiliency of people and the ability for us to realize that no one is immune to the trials and tribulations of life, but we bounce back, as you said so eloquently. So let's move on to the next panelist. Go ahead, Kate.
Hi, boy, I worked with Ty before, and every time I hear that story, it just hits me to the heart and makes me appreciate where a lot of our clients at Orion come from. I haven't had to go through any of that in my life, but I particularly work mainly with developmentally disabled adults. And just kind of like the image that Ty asked you to think of when you think of somebody on the streets or a drug addict, I think we all have a view of somebody with a developmental disability. And a lot of times that view is, okay, yeah, they can't contribute a lot. But working with these clients for the last 8 years and finding them employment and seeing them blossom and succeed and be told time and time again and by employers, they're the best employee I have. I'm so amazed at how great everybody loves them. They're such an addition to our business. Thank you so much. It gives me that a reminder that a lot of times we have these preconceptions of who people are. And if we can just knock down those preconceptions and be open to the fact that there are employees out there who want to work and work hard for you and be appreciated and be valued and be an addition to your businesses. And that's our job, is to finding businesses who, not just to find a job, finding businesses who will really appreciate the people that are working for them and giving people second chances. So yeah, I love my job. We at Orion also work with homeless. We work with L&I claims. We work with people who are low income, who are struggling for security in life, and veterans are the people that we work with at Orion.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kate, for sharing that. Michelle, your turn.
I don't know how much more I have to share. I came into this role accidentally. I was a military wife and a high school teacher. I have my master's from University of Arizona, and then we retired out of the military and came back to Washington State, where we're from, and it's not reciprocal. And I hadn't been teaching for a long time because of the significant impairments of our youngest son. And I finally was able to get a job here. And this work gives me hope for both of our sons have autism. One is higher functioning than the other. The other is significant impacts and will probably live with us for the rest of his natural adult life until we transition. This work gives me hope to answer that question of what's next as a parent. And I don't think I'll ever go back to teaching after working in this field. So I think that's the only thing I can add to any of that, just to kind of back on to Kate. I see an impact every day, one-on-one, in a way that I couldn't teaching or working at CPS. So.
Okay, so we're starting off really strong here, folks. There's some great messages here and direct impact on these individuals that are our panelists today. So let's move right into this a little deeper. Obviously, Economic Alliance Snohomish County, we represent the business community throughout the county. And so I'd like to ask Michelle, we're going to throw it right back to you, and then Kate, and then Ty. The question is, why should businesses engage with your resource, and how many employees are available to work?
There is a pool of people from all walks of life and all forms of disabilities. I myself work with students coming out of high school and individuals that are sight impaired, meaning there's no cognitive difficulties. I think that the retention rate that you're going to find from our pool of individuals, I think the dedication, the loyalty, the work. I just placed somebody last night who is just looking for somebody to come in, no nonsense, and bus. And I provided somebody who's not interested in gossip, not interested in chit chat. She's just there to work. That's what she enjoys. And so even if you have an experience with somebody with a disability, you're going to find that there's somebody else that's completely different. I think that's kind of the biggest stigma that we get in our pool is just, well, I just worked with somebody like that and it didn't do well. And I said, well, try again. Just like individuals are different, everybody we work with is different. And I bet you'd find somebody who's a fit for you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. Go ahead, Kate.
Okay, so Orion, we are a smaller agency in Snohomish County, but we are a training partner too. So at any given time, we have with clients with disabilities, we have probably less than 10, but on our training and DVR and LNI and veterans, we probably have another 12 to 15 people at any given time looking for employment. Now, we always have people going through our training. We do a 3-month training in aerospace manufacturing. Now, it's not, yes, people can go into aerospace manufacturing after that training, but it really is more about a time for us to get to know barriers and strengths and capabilities of people. So then the great thing is when they come out of that training, we know what they can do. So we're not going to place somebody in a business that we feel is not going to be successful. And we have that training program going on consistently. So we are always having new people graduating and ready for employment. And then we also get referrals from DVR. And that can be people from, that fluctuates from time to time of how many we have, but we always have like 5 or 6 people from DVR who are looking for employment too. So definitely a large number of people who are constantly looking for employment.
Thank you, Kate. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, there's a big pool of folks who have criminal records in Washington State. So nationally, when we talk about the number of people who have criminal records, according to the Bureau of Justice and the FBI, there's somewhere between 70 and 77 million adults in the US who have criminal records. And in Washington State, Seattle Times says there's about 2 million adults that have criminal records. And about 90% of those people have absolutely no involvement with the criminal justice system. And what I mean by that is they're not currently on probation, they're not on parole, they're not doing community service. So what we have is a big pool of potential employees who are just dragging around their criminal records with them and being denied employment opportunities. So that presents a great opportunity for employers for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's a wide range of workers that are in this pool. So there's going to be folks that are kind of like me and have, life was going along great. They had some great things going on and then life went sideways for whatever reason. And there's going to be some folks that are entry-level workers. And the really great news is that if you're an employer and you've ever had the experience of putting an ad on, let's say Indeed, and you got a really great hire, or you put an ad on Indeed and you got a really crappy hire, well, congratulations. You can get that same great or crappy hire out of this pool of folks that happen to have criminal records. But the other thing, that the big advantage is going to be that because not a lot of companies are open necessarily to providing employment opportunities, you're going to have a lot less competition for that pool of workers, and you're going to kind of get the pick of the litter. So it really is a great opportunity for employers, especially with so many employers having issues finding workers these days for whatever reason. It really is a great opportunity for employers to be able to look into a pool of people that I call overlooked and untapped, and provide great opportunity to bring individuals into their organization. And the other thing that I'll finish on here is, when people talk about diversity, they talk about diversity, and usually the diversity we think of is either skin color or gender. But diversity of worker pool is also another diversity of background, diversity of abilities that workers have, much like the workers that Kate and Michelle are talking about. This is also something very valuable that can add variety and diversity to your workforce and bring incredible value to your company. So I really want to make sure that employers hear that message, because I think it's incredibly important.
Can I add on to that as well? And I think that speaks for all of us, is that in addition to that diversity we're bringing, the thing that hiring from us, all of us, is that you will be hiring somebody who is also available to collaborate and help navigate that individual that you hired through the entire process. We are there, and you do not have to pay for us. We come with our own L&I, our own insurance. We're on site to assist you through the entire process and be there to kind of collaborate between and talk. If you need somebody to help discuss things with that client, we're there to be the middle person and help you through all steps of this entire process.
Yeah, this is going down the right path. And so I'd like to jump ahead here and ask an additional question. But I'd like to know a little bit more about the misconceptions, the biggest misconception that you've heard. And so let's start off with Ty and work from there.
Well, lots of misconceptions and stigma that folks have about people that have been or in recovery or previously criminal justice involved. Are they going to steal from me? Are they going to be a good employee? Are they going to show up to work? There's lots of misconceptions, but here's a really funny thing about being in recovery or telling somebody you have a criminal record. It's kind of, Gary, at the beginning of this call, you talked about how you were holding up, I think, a pumpkin spice latte. I hate pumpkin. I hate that there's pumpkin in everything, right? So for you saying that you had a pumpkin spice latte is the same thing for me when I tell somebody I have a criminal record. People are going to have one of two reactions. They're going to either be drawn closer to me because they have some personal experience, either their own experience, or they have a family member who was in jail and they recognize that person didn't get the opportunities they want. Or they're going to be pushed further away from me because they had an experience where a family member stole from them or a friend did them wrong or something, right? So there's the biggest battle that I fight in this is it's hearts and minds. So Washington State has actually done a really nice job of doing things like banning the box So on employment applications, employers can no longer ask upfront whether you have a criminal record. So that's done a really great job of providing more interview opportunities for people who may have been previously criminal justice involved. But the next battle is for the hearts and the minds of those hiring managers and those employers. Those people who may be coming with a preconceived notion. There's no evil intent behind it at all. It's just everyone has life experience and we all got baggage, right? It's the difference of, is it a clutch or is it a steamer trunk? What are we carrying around with us that impacts the ways that we view others in the world and their backgrounds? So that's the biggest battle and the stigma that I kind of fight now. And that's why, a lot of folks are really, a lot of the coaching that I do with some of my nonprofit clients is around how to tell that story to an employer. How do you tell the story to an employer about your homelessness and your criminal justice involvement in a way that is honest and truthful, but doesn't limit you from a possible employment opportunity? That's one of the biggest challenges that folks are dealing with and overcoming that stigma and that preconceived notion.
All right, I'm going to leave this wide open, Michelle and Kate. Who wants to jump in next?
Well, I would have to say that, I think what Michelle said earlier is like, well, one, we already have one of those. I hear that a lot. And I'm like, one of what? Everybody's an individual. Everybody should be judged for who they are as an individual. And yes, you're going to have bad experiences with people with disabilities or people who are on drugs and people who have no excuses. You always have people who are not going to do a great job because that's just human nature. But, 9 out of 10 of our clients, when they're placed in the right business, in the right position, they shine above others because it's true. They're focused on working. Now, of course, we do have some who can be social and get distracted with the social side. But for the most part, our clients, when they learn their jobs, that's what they do. They do their job. And the misconception is, oh, are they going to get hurt? And then we're going to have a liability, an L&I claim. I haven't had a single client in the 8 years I've been in this business get hurt on the job. Then also the stigma of, well, I don't know how to interact with them. I'm uncomfortable because I don't know what to do. Well, that's why we're here. We come in and help your employees learn how to interact with this new employer or employee. We help you know how to navigate and communicate and learn to embrace them as part of your team. So yeah, that's just the stigma of, I think it's the unknown is what the stigma is, especially with people with disabilities. I have never worked with somebody with, I just don't know. I just can't see that working. I can see it working. I've seen it working for the past 9 years. And for the most part, very successfully. I would say 92% of all placements that I have seen, not only for myself, but my coworkers, are successful. And long-term, that's the other thing about, they're not going to quit in a year and go to another business. They're going to stay with you because they are so appreciative of having a job. I'm not going to say they'll never move on because we want them to advance in their careers also, but they will stay with you for more than the average employee will, actually.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, the individual I just placed last night was a lobby attendant for McDonald's for 7 years. And she just time to move on because COVID shut everything down. But I think a good portion of our job as employment consultants in this industry is correcting misinformation or advocating, educating individuals. I love talking about my Department of Blind Services clients that I go and I say, I have a client that's blind that I would like to place here. And one place was manufacturing, and why would you place a blind person in a manufacturing plant? And I got my guy hooked up deburring. And that's what he wants to do, just sit and deburr with his hands, smooth all the rough bits. And then I have another client I've been trying to place. And the minute I say blind, everybody just, she can't do it. And I have to educate. There's nothing cognitively wrong with her. She's just blind. In fact, she drives. And then they go, she drives. And I said, yes, she is legally blind and she drives. There's a spectrum of blindness, just like there is a spectrum of disabilities. And so our job is just constantly correcting misinformation. And I can't tell you the biggest piece, because every time I think there's just one solid misinformation out there, somebody comes out with something else, and it just blows me away. But I think the biggest piece is just that I can't tell you the one. There's so many that I hear on a day-to-day basis on all of my clients, such as all people with Down syndrome are friendly and happy. So I would really love to just work with somebody with Down syndrome and nobody else. That's not the case. I think you're going to be surprised. I think there's somebody else that would be a better fit, so yeah, I don't have a single answer. I'm sorry.
All right, folks. Sorry for that. I tried to mute myself to keep from interrupting you there, Michelle. So I have a quick question from the chat, but before I go there, and I wonder if each of you have a name that comes to mind, but there's an assumption, as Ty was alluding to, that maybe people who are successful don't have a criminal record, and we know that's not true. Some examples that might shed some light on the music I listen to is Jay-Z obviously has become a billionaire and has a huge criminal record past. If we think of some other people, Bruno Mars, I obviously love Bruno Mars music, but we can think of Bill Gates as well, has a criminal record as well. We can go down the list, but I'm gonna throw this all to you. But first, I'm going to give you some time to think on it as we answer this question that was thrown in the chat. And this is about from a question on background checking. So can you all comment on this being an essential part of the hiring process? And so I'm not gonna put it in any order. You guys can take turns just diving in on that.
I'll take that. I saw a couple of questions in the chat. So somebody asked a question about they have a client and they have a policy that says they can't take felons. To me, what that says is, wow, what a great opportunity to take everybody that's got misdemeanors. So, because there's a lot of people that have misdemeanors, right? So there certainly are going to be some positions where felons absolutely can't work. If obviously in Washington State, if you can't have unsupervised access to certain populations, if you have a felony, and that's okay. There's nothing that says that, if you're a company, for example, that currently has a policy where you don't take anybody that has a criminal record in the last 5 years, there's a big distance between that and having a policy where you take absolutely anybody off the street that's ever had a crime, even if it was yesterday. What I often do when I try to talk to employers is to get them to get to a place where they are able to provide some opportunity for some individuals and not eliminate opportunity for everyone. So if there's a non-felony policy, there's nothing wrong with that, but that just means there's a tremendous opportunity to provide job and employment for other folks who may have misdemeanors, even if they're gross misdemeanors. Someone else asked in the chat a question about criminal background checks. The other thing I want to make sure employers know is there's absolutely nothing in the law that says that you have to have the same background check for every position in your company. So it probably doesn't make a lot of sense for you to have the same criminal background check for your accountant as it does for the person who works on the loading dock. So that means that you can probably create an entry opportunity for somebody to come into your company and start in loading or shipping or receiving or something like that, just so they can get their foot in the door and prove to you that they could be a valuable employee. And eventually, maybe they'll put enough distance and prove to you enough that they can be an accountant and they're trustworthy enough in your eyes where they can take those higher level positions. But in order to create an entry point, you can have whatever criminal background check policy you want, even if it means for some positions you have a background check policy and for some you don't have anything at all. It's completely up to you.
Any other thoughts there, Kate or Michelle?
Well, I actually haven't had to really face that issue with my particular clients, because I don't work with anybody with well, I guess one time I did work with somebody with a background, but that was many years ago. And so I don't have a lot of experience with that. I would just say, I do have someone in my personal life who was a star employee and found out that he had a felon. He was a felony, and it was a ridiculous incident that got him that felony charge, and they fired him, and they loved him. They loved him. He was productive. He was about to get promoted, and he got fired. And so I guess my question would be, what is the purpose behind not hiring felons? I get it if you're like Ty said, if you have a vulnerable population that you're serving, you need to be more careful. But I guess I would challenge companies to rethink the policy and what's behind that policy. What's the reason behind that policy? That would just be my 2 cents.
Thanks, Kate. Michelle?
Agreed. And kind of like Kate, I don't work with anybody with a criminal background. We do background checks at our company. So that's one less hurdle that we have to work through. You know, I feel like we're both kind of facing enough hurdles with, individuals with criminal backgrounds and the stigma, and individuals with disabilities and stigmas. So thankfully that's not one in addition to what we're already kind of working with. So Ty, I've got to give you kudos for what you do.
Yeah. I want to keep this going, but I want to highlight that comment that I put you all on the spot for. But I've got Martha Stewart, I've got Larry King, I've got Nicolas Cage, Vanilla Ice. Some of you might be frowning at that one. Woody Harrelson. So the list goes on. And so the point is made there. But I'd like to make sure that we're covering all the questions in the chat. So folks, please feel free to ask more questions of our panelists. We have a little bit more time to dive into that. Are there any items or elements of change that's happening in your respective organizations that are trend setting in this space? Items or ways of approaching businesses and opportunities that may be a little bit unique in this perspective. So Ty, I'm going to lead with you, and then Michelle, and then Kate.
Gary, I'm so sorry. I was actually reading a comment in the chat while you were saying that. I'm so sorry. So maybe we should go to Kate or Michelle first.
Yeah, sure. Jump in, dive in, Michelle.
Well, I'd like to say that we do offer culture training, and we'd love to give presentations about how to work with individuals with disabilities. As far as approaching, I feel like a salesperson at this. I feel like my job's advocating, sales, education, and then occupational therapy as I'm getting in and helping this person work one-on-one and training this person, sometimes some hands-on, and then case management. And so it's really hard to sum up when people say, what do you do? Everything. I do everything. And how I approach businesses is really unique for what business I'm approaching, what kind of person I'm trying to put into that business. And I feel that there is a trend, and not in my personal approach or our approach or what's happening on the disability side. I feel like there is a trend cutting individuals with disabilities out of the workforce. Because once upon a time, there were carved positions where we could put people in just shredding. That doesn't happen anymore because of sensitive material and shredding. Once upon a time, we could do lobby attendants at, say, Starbucks. Starbucks doesn't do that anymore. So it's these positions that we could carve out for individuals. That individual I placed in a warehouse position, I can't place individuals in warehouse positions anymore because they only want part-time, or full-time shifts, and our clients sometimes can't work full-time shifts. And so the trend is actually just getting harder and harder for us to place our clients, because our clients usually need reduced hours or reduced tasks. And now companies want everybody to do everything. I tried to place at Walgreens, and they said, yeah, we hire supported employment if they can do everything. They need a cashier, they need to interact with the public, that doesn't fit a lot of our clients. It fits some of our clients, but not a lot of our clients.
Okay, Kate, do you want to dive in?
I would say a trend, at least in placement of individuals with disabilities, is a working interview. That's not really a norm, but for our clients, businesses feel more comfortable doing a working interview, because a lot of times, our clients do have, they have disabilities, and so sometimes they can't communicate who they are, and you can't see how valuable they are in an interview. So we have them come and do a working interview, and a lot of times that is enough to get them the job. And just wanted to make a comment. I saw in the chat a question about work opportunity tax credit for business. So just want, it's not a guarantee, but it's been approved every year that I have been working in the industry. If you hire somebody with a disability, and I'm sorry, I don't know exactly how many hours in a year that person has to work for your company. I don't want to misquote it, but you actually can get a tax credit for your business for hiring an individual with a disability. And it may be some other maybe with a criminal background or something. I don't know what, but I do know it's for people with disabilities. You can get a tax credit for those individuals. And then just a quick addressing on the part-time issue. It is very hard to get people placed into manufacturing. We have a lot of people who do great in that industry because it's repetitive. So a lot of our clients really do great in jobs that they're going to do the same thing over and over every day. So businesses should be willing to look at job shares, because I have people who can work 20 hours a week, but can't place them into a full-time position. And just a shout out to Himalayan dog company, who has hired quite a few of our clients and have been willing to do some job share. So would hope that more businesses would do that.
Thank you, Kate. It looks like people want to jump out of these acronyms. So Ty, as you dive in, could you just highlight the explanation for the WOTC, which I see in the chat, but I figure you can dive in.
Yeah, that means the work opportunity tax credit. And that is also available for individuals who have felonies. So if you hire someone that has a felony, then you're also eligible for that. The other thing that I will point out specifically for folks that have a criminal background, and the federal government also has a free federal bonding program. So federal bond costs, it's a $0 federal bond up to $25,000, which protects, if you hire somebody that has a criminal record, then it protects your company for any type of misdeed, both on or off the job. Zero deductible, up to $25,000. Again, absolutely free. If your company applies for it, you'll definitely get it. So it is one of those things that your company can take advantage of if you feel like you're going to provide opportunity for someone, but you're feeling a little uncertain. As far as the trend goes around hiring people with criminal records, is actually moving in the right direction. As I mentioned, Washington State in 2018 passed the Fair Chance in Hiring Act, which has made it easier for individuals with criminal records to get interviews because they don't have to disclose upfront. And many other states have followed. Also, the Society for Human Resource Management, or SHRM, has also been in a big push the last 3 or 4 years in talking about this issue of hiring people and giving them second chances. Additionally, people that you wouldn't normally think would be sympathetic to this cause are starting to come around a little bit. And there's a couple things. So obviously, if you've got a bunch of people in this country that have criminal records, and since there's 1 in 3 adults, what that tells me, Gary, you brought up a list of famous people who have done well and might have criminal histories. What that also tells me is, on this call, I ain't the only one that's got a criminal record. There's some other people in this room that got a criminal record. I know that. I'm not going to ask you to out yourselves, but that's probably going to be true, right? So, there's folks on this call that are super successful and have had at some point in their life a criminal record. So they have experience in exactly what it is that we're talking about. But folks are, as I mentioned before, it really is kind of hearts and minds. And I think people are moving in the right direction. I mentioned that comeback story earlier. Everybody not only likes a comeback, but people want to be part of a comeback, and comebacks really show the best of humanity. So the person who's making the comeback is showing resilience and persistence, and they're overcoming hurdles and blocks and challenges. And those people that magically show up in their lives at just the right time get to demonstrate compassion and sympathy and caring. And it really shows the best of humanity in a world that many days doesn't always show the best of humanity. And I really love talking about this because it cuts across every line. It's not political, it's not racial, it's not gender-based, it's not class-based. Everybody knows someone in their life who has either been in recovery or been in jail, I assure you. And so everyone can get behind the idea of providing a hand up. It's not a handout. And I want to make it clear, this is for Kate's clients and it's for Michelle's clients too. This is an equal exchange of value. You're going to get an employee that's going to come to your company and they're going to bring their enthusiasm and their passion for working, and they're wanting to prove to you and themselves that they are capable and can be a good employee. And they're going to get some stuff from you too. They're going to get money. They're going to get benefits. They're going to get work skills and experience. So this is not about charity. It's not about a handout. It is about providing opportunity for individuals that are ready to take advantage of those opportunities.
Awesome. Awesome. Michelle, I want to throw it to you as your colleague has posted a comment. The acronym is JAN. I wonder if you want to highlight her comments there. And then I thought there was a hand raised as well, but go ahead, Michelle.
With which comment? I am so sorry. Regarding
the Job Accommodation Network.
Oh, JAN, Job Accommodation Network. Kate, you might be even better to speak on that, but I know it's a website that you can go to, and you look up the disabilities that individuals have, and it has just a range of ways you can accommodate that or ideas for those individuals with disabilities. Kate, could you expand further, or is that pretty cut and dry of?
No, that's pretty cut and dry. I mean, it's a really great resource for both us and for businesses to look at, you know, what kind of people, what kind of disabilities actually would be a good fit for us.
Hey, Bridget, before you go, Michelle, I just want to make sure that she throws that into the actual chat. It might have been a direct message to me, but meant for the whole group. Go ahead.
Okay. And I just want to highlight also that for our clients, the impact of social. I mean, our clients, there's many of them that live in adult family homes. They don't get to go out and interact with the community much in those situations. This provides them their only opportunity to really get out and socialize. And the impact on the business, I had a client who worked at a coffee shop, and people would come from 3 cities and towns away. You know, they worked in Everett. I had people coming from Monroe to come to that coffee shop just to say hi to that individual, because that individual socially connected with them in a way that impacted their life. And it's a continuous thing that they do every single week.
Thank you. Thank you. So folks, we're coming down to the wire here. I believe that we have an additional speaker that will join us with the testimonial. So with that in mind, to give you each, not yet, I'm seeing from Katie. But with that in mind, I want to give you each an opportunity to dive into maybe some remarks from your perspective to the group. And then if we have time, there is a hand raised. Katie, if we could engage Michael on that. I don't, Michael Gonzalez, his name just popped up and then disappeared on me. But that could fill some time here before our testimonial is here. There he is, Seattle Goodwill, Michael Gonzalez. If we could get you to unmute and speak up, ask your question.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael Gonzalez from Evergreen Goodwill Northwest now, formerly Seattle Goodwill. And I really wanted to sit in the chat room and just throw all kinds of things in there, but I'm driving right now. So I'd like to thank Ty and Michelle and oh my God, my brain is not working. Yes, for chatting this morning. Ty knows that he and I have talked about our past and our things, and I'm one. When he said that there's one person in the room, at least one person in the room, well, he knows that I'm one of those people in the room that has a background story and one that has overcome many hurdles along the way. And now that I work in the same type of thing, helping folks find their value for employers. And he's right. There is a market out there of folks that are really wanting to work, but if you're not a fair chance employer, then I don't say second chance employer, because they're assuming that they got a first chance. By being a fair chance employer, though, those that have disabilities, those that have been incarcerated, those that have been homeless, those that have been facing any type of chemical dependency, those are people that just need a fair chance, not just a second chance. And I believe wholeheartedly on what we do, all of us are doing for the service of others. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was excellent. Drive safe, Michael. Hands-free, I hope. And folks, as we whittle down to the end of our time, I want to give each of our panelists an opportunity to give their parting final remarks. But I also would like to highlight something that is in the spirit of this conversation, which is simply put that this is an opportunity to provide people with an American dream hope, right? Is to bounce back and provide that opportunity for our livelihoods as Americans and as Snohomish County residents and in this region. And so I just commend all of you for the work that you're doing in your respective spaces and realizing the huge impact that your storytelling can have on saving someone's life and moving them into the workforce. Ty, you've told a tremendous story, but I believe that there's probably others on this call that have similar stories. So as Ty shares a story and releases people for the opportunity to dive into the potential for success, I think everyone has that potential. And so thank you, Ty and Kate and Michelle, for sharing that. I think it was some poet by the name of Alexander Pope who said to err is human. And I would say also the other end of that is to hire those errant people is divine. So Ty, I'm going to lead with you giving your parting remarks to the group, and then Michelle, and then Kate. Take it away, Ty.
Thanks. I just want to thank everybody for listening today and the comments you dropped in the chat, and EASC for giving us the opportunity to be here. I think the message that all three of us are sharing is a really important one. So the natural question that some employers may be thinking about now is, where do I find these folks to hire? When it comes to finding individuals who may have criminal justice involvement in Snohomish County, there's a couple places. As Kate mentioned, her organization at Orion, they serve individuals who also may have criminal justice involvement. Also, WorkSource is a great place to find folks who, job seekers who may have past criminal justice involvement. And WorkSource, for those of you who aren't familiar, is a department of the Department of Employment. And they provide employment services for all kinds of individuals. And a big chunk of the folks that they serve are individuals who are in recovery or previously homeless or have past criminal justice involvement. There's also a couple of other organizations that serve individuals with previous criminal justice involvement, like Pioneer Human Services, who has a presence at the Carnegie Resource Center, and Skills Inc., which is down in Auburn, but they serve as well. But if you just connect in your community, even with your local community colleges, many times at Edmonds College and at Everett Community College, they'll have folks that are enrolled in trade programs because they're trying to move on to the next thing and get worker retraining. And many of those folks are people that are kind of rebuilding their lives. So those are all good sources and places for you to connect to provide opportunity for individuals who may have previous criminal justice involvement. The other thing I would encourage employers to do and business owners is when you have an applicant who has past criminal justice involvement, kind of get curious about it. Ask them some questions about exactly kind of what happened. I see that, on your background check, this thing happened 3 to 5 years ago, or maybe it happened last year. Talk to me about that. And then listen to the explanation. And if they have done things to demonstrate that they're living their lives as different people, like they volunteered or they have they're in AA, or for example, and they can produce some evidence that shows that they're trying to live a different life than they lived before, that may be somebody that you can give an opportunity to. So I'm not saying that every person that you interview that has a past criminal justice involvement is going to be an appropriate employee for your company. What I'm asking you to do is to take your preconceived notion and just open it up 10%. Just 10% is going to make a huge difference in the life of somebody who deserves an opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Ty. Go ahead, Michelle.
I'm going to take Ty with me for every presentation. He does my job for me so beautifully. So I am just going to end with an ask. The biggest request that I get is individuals who want to work in an office or manufacturing. And that is the hardest thing for us to fill, because 9 times out of 10, our clients can do everything but answer the phones, or they can do everything but cashier, or they can do everything but work a 40-hour work week. And just, I'd like to continue this conversation on what ways we can work to improve that. How can we open that up? How can we work with you as an industry to open that up so that you have more? And that's my biggest thing coming to this. So thank you so much for this platform and your time.
All right, Kate.
So I'm gonna say, take that 10% chance and it'll make you 10% happier. There is a book about 10% happier. And honestly, if you would just open up that 10% chance to give somebody an opportunity, wherever they fall in life, of needing a chance at a job, that take that chance, and I will almost guarantee you it'll make your business and yourself 10% happier. Yeah, and there, somebody asked, there's actually 12 agencies in Snohomish County, and there might actually be a couple more than that work with individuals with disabilities. So, I work with WVS and Orion. So of course, I think they're both amazing agencies, but there are other really great agencies out there too. And the great thing is that we collaborate with each other. If I find an employer who has an opening and I don't have somebody who fits that, I'll call my friends in other agencies and say, hey, do you have somebody who will fit this position? So whichever agency you work with, I would hope that they also collaborate, and we're going to find somebody to help your businesses succeed and fulfill those needs that you have, especially if you're open for some job shares. Have a great day. Thanks everybody for this opportunity.
Thank you, Kate, Ty, Michelle. So we do have an opportunity here because we have a little bit of time left. I think we'd love to close with another testimonial. We do not have the prepared speaker for that testimonial. So I am going to open this up to our panelists and to our audience by just a hand raised. I can select you and unmute you. But just give us some closing statement and testimonial that attributes to this panelist conversation. So I'm throwing it out there. I see one from Steve. Steve, you have the mic. I'm going to unmute you, and you can take it away.
Thank you, Gary. Well, this conversation really resonated with me. I have to tell you really quickly, I'm trying to remember the year, I think it was 1996. I was hiring a substance abuse counselor in Southern California, and his name is Paul O'Neill. 4 homicides, 20 years of part-time, Pelican Bay and Soledad. He's the best substance abuse counselor I ever hired in my life. Amazing guy who overcame addiction and all of the past that went with him. Teddy bear of a man. Mod Pizza is one of my favorites. I don't know if I didn't hear anybody mention it, but I love their model that they try to hire people who have been incarcerated or are in recovery to give them another chance, a fair chance, and to give them job skills, at least entry-level job skills to get a foot up. So thank you, all of the speakers this morning. It was phenomenal. Great presentation.
Thanks, Steve. Tell us who you're with so everyone knows.
So Volunteers of America, Western Washington. And by the way, we are always looking for employees, and we don't care whether they've served time, are in recovery, or have challenges, disabilities. We want to give everybody a fair shot. So
thank you, Steve. You folks heard it here. Steve is with Volunteers of America, and they're looking for people, whether or not they are imperfect or walk on water. You know, you have an opportunity there. So folks, we're going to leave you with a little extra time for your day. If I overlooked anyone, please feel free. I think I want to give a thank you to Katie, who has set this up for us. I want to give a thank you to Michelle, Ty, and Kate. I want to thank all of you who stayed on the call, and just remind you that we will move this to our social media. So there'll be a link on our Facebook page for people who haven't had a chance to watch this. It also goes on our YouTube page as well. I think this is a great opportunity to pass this along to folks who have those questions that our panelists so heartfelt in their answers, provided some inclusion to this conversation, because I think it's all about understanding that they're asking for inclusion more than anything, that 10% that they talked about. So again, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Ty. And we really appreciate your efforts. And last but not least, we always have another coffee chats coming up. So folks, as we transition from Untapped Talent on the 28th at 8:30 a.m., again, improving Washington state taxes, which is also a connection to workforce and business opportunities. So please join us on the 28th. It's another Tuesday. And again, 8:30 a.m., come with your coffee cups, please. And you know what? In solidarity, if you still have your coffee cup or whatever you like to drink in the morning, please raise that. And folks, have an amazing Tuesday. Thank you to our panelists. This is another Coffee Chats with Economic Alliance, Snohomish County. Take care.
Just a piece of education. This is the way that deaf people clap. So it's a good way to clap on Zoom for people.
All right. Take care, folks. Thank you, Kate.